My name is Mitch Benner, and we started this podcast to remove the stigma around sobriety from addiction.
My name is Aaron Nelson. Through our stories and the stories of our guests, we hope to help you find a new path.
All right, here we go. All righty, friends, we are back for another episode of Shattered Darkness. I'm Aaron Nelson. As always, we have Mitch Benner. Today, we have Travis Harrison all the way from South Carolina. Travis, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. All the way. Yeah, it's all the way.
All the way. I love it, man. Thank you so much for being on here today.
Yeah,
that's cool. Our reach is, getting out across the country.
Yeah,
so Travis, I thank you for that. You and I met through our company we work for, Fairway, and the cool story of how we connected, which is just really cool, and a lot of onus goes to Travis here. Is we went to a faith conference, and at the end of it, I think it was Wheezy that said, "If anybody wants to speak up and say something, don't be flying home regretting you didn't say anything." So I popped up and talked about what we were doing here on the podcast, and I think I might have set my microphone down or passed it off to someone else. And Travis, you came right up and said, "Hey, man, we need to talk." It was awesome.
That's how that went down. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah. So Travis is another mortgage loan originator like I am at Fairway, and just a good, solid dude. Has a really good story, but more importantly, how he's helped himself and also other families. In that time where we're getting sober, we're coming out of rehab, and how do we kind of reintegrate to sober life? So, Travis, I don't want to misrepresent your story, man, but start wherever you feel and tell us what we got going on, brother.
Yeah, man, I appreciate y'all having me on, give me a chance to share with y'all, because the story does no good if nobody knows about it. And
that's right.
If this just helped one person, one family, this is worth taking time. So thanks for getting me on your platform. Applaud what you guys are doing. My story is I probably spent 20 good, strong years of looking for the bottom of a bottle. And for a long time, it was fine. I mean, you made it work and everything was good. And the wheels came off really in 2007 to 2010. They were a mess. I was building a home in 08, 09. And I had a whole business plan that was based off what the value of this house was going to be. And it was going to be gravy after that. And the appraisal came in a crashing market and ripped those dreams apart. And you couldn't find enough alcohol in Greenville, Spartanburg to keep me, to keep me sane. It was wild. Married, had 3 kids, and this all came to a head on the weekend of August 27th, 28th, and 29th of 2010. On my son's 4th birthday, I had just gotten out of jail again. And made a phone call to the wife. Wife said, "Well, I'm done." And little did I know that everybody else was done. So I spent the night on the street, just walking up. It's probably about a 3-mile walk from the law enforcement center where I was at to a gas station. Made a phone call to my grandfather about 7:20 Sunday morning. And this sounds real romantic, like, "Oh, that's awesome. You reached out to your grandfather." Well, the only reason I reached out to my grandfather is because he was the next person on the list. I mean, it's been long enough since I had messed him over to where I could call him and he would probably be receptive. So I remember my grandma, she answered the phone, and I said, "Is Grandpa there?" She said, "Yeah, hold on a minute." And got him on the phone. I said, "Papa," I said, "I messed up." He said, "I know." And I'm thinking, dang, how did you find out that quick that I messed up again?
I just got out of jail.
Yeah, I'm like, he's like, "Well, you're not calling me at 7:20 on Sunday morning and tell me you did something good." I'm like, Wow. Okay. Talk about being known. There you are.
Yeah, I was going to say the reputation's established already, man.
So he picked me up, and he rode me around for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. I filled him in on what was going on, and he was terrified to drop me off at the house because he was like, "I don't know what your wife, your kids, your in-laws, because we kind of live compound style. Don't know what they're going to do to you." I actually had to go to work that day. He said, "Go in, get yourself cleaned up, figure out what you're going to do. I'll pick you up. I'll get you to work, and then you need to figure out where you're going to stay tonight." So I did. Went to work. And let me just tell you, I mean, I was a mess for years. So there's DUIs, there's all sorts of other stuff that's behind the scenes of this too. So this is really coming to a head.
Right.
And so he picked me up.
Let me ask you a question real quick.
Yeah.
Where was drinking always a part of your life, like growing up and in your past? And, was it always a part of your life, or was it something that started because of stress or whatever?
Yeah, senior year of high school, after I signed my scholarship to play football at a college. Once that was done, then I kind of turned that valve on.
Gotcha.
I was looking for it, and just basically stayed there. Went in and went deep and stayed there for a long, long time.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just curious where kind of that started, but
Yeah, no, and I was kind of like smoking. I mean, I learned it on my own. I mean, I kind of made myself figure out how to like it, not like it, what I like, and
Right.
but yeah, and then it was just kind of a natural thing.
Right.
It got to the point where you wake up, you go to bed with a bottle. That's just the way it is. So August 29th at night, yeah, they picked me up at work, and I go back to my uncle's house. What I didn't know that was going on during the day was everybody in my family was doing intervention. Everybody, wife, kids, my mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, her mom and dad, everybody. And they were all in agreement that we're done. We're going to take him somewhere where he can get help. Doesn't mean that he will, but he can get help. And should he choose to, great. If he chooses not to, are we all in agreement that he's not coming to any of us? Yes? Cool. So they loaded me up in a car, took me to downtown Greenville, which is about 15, 20 minutes from the house, and dropped me off at a homeless shelter. And I was clean enough to get in, and just reiterated the fact that there's help here if you want it. If you don't call us. So they doubled down. And
wow.
So that was how I wound up having to come face to face with this as a problem.
Yeah. And I was going to say, dude, where's your mindset at this time? Like, you're just dropped off at a rehab facility and basically told by your family, like, dude, you're too much for us. Like,
well, not even rehab, like a homeless shelter.
It was a homeless shelter?
So the homeless shelter had a crisis center recovery program in it.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Like when you come in, you don't go straight into that. You've got to go through an interview process and all this other stuff. There's some formality around it.
Really,
but the biggest thing was, here's your cot in a homeless shelter.
Right. I mean, that's crazy, dude, to think about. Like, my experience was very different. My family surrounded me and helped me. I just can't imagine that mindset of like, oh shit, like I'm on a fucking island here, and like, that's just crazy, man. Like so where were you at mentally, like that day?
So mentally where I'm at is I'm going to have to figure out how to make money, which I can do that. I can figure that part out.
Yep.
I'm probably getting divorced, so I got to plan on that. So I'm going to have to make really good money. I've got a cousin who is in Alabama, and I'll get myself together here if it comes to that, because I got some legal stuff I'm going to have to deal with. So I'm going to have some money to pay for attorneys, because that was a mess. And so I had kind of an escape route of catching a bus out of Greenville and heading to Alabama to a car lot, going down and selling cars, because that was in my background. So I knew that was the way I could make money, start making money fast. And what was wild was what I didn't know was at the same time that cousin was struggling with the same thing I was struggling with, and he wasn't even there. So had I caught a bus to Alabama, I'm on my own. Didn't even know it. I found that out while I was in there. But yeah, I just expected everything to completely crumble. And in a weird way, I was good with it, because I had gotten to the point where if this thing's going to fall apart, being a control freak, it's going to fall apart the way I want it to.
Yeah.
Which is, I had gone through a lot of trouble to make sure. I mean, I've got a beautiful wife. We've been married, I think it's 28 years this year. I've got 3 beautiful children. I got a nice house. I got great in-laws. I got all the stuff.
Yeah.
So she ain't going to have no charge of somebody scooping her up. Remember, I'm sick. That's what's going through my head.
Mm-hmm.
So I was comfortable now that this was going to be public knowledge. Trav's a train wreck. I have protected them from me. So if you fail on your own terms, that is success. And that's how I looked at that. That's where I was at.
Interesting. Okay. So, and then, I mean, did you immediately plug into this situation there, or were you still planning on, living the life that you were living?
Yeah, no, it took me probably 40, 45 days. The biggest thing was getting assimilated into the homeless shelter. The first thing I wanted was a handbook. Give me the handbook. Let me know the rules of the game. That way I know how to win. But that's it. I mean, that's this. So get in, kind of get the rhythm of the road. Now I know what to do because I got to make sure I don't get kicked out.
Right.
Because I didn't have anywhere else to go. And then about 10 days into it, called my uncle and I said, "Hey man," I said, "I thought you said there's help here." He said, "There is help, but you're going to have to go look for it." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Look for it?" He said, "There's a program there. Go talk to him." I said, "Okay." He said, "I'm going to make a phone call for you." And went in, talked, and, basically they ask you want to change your life? Yeah, I do. Okay, well, everybody wants to change your life when you're, getting asked that question in that condition. You're
Right.
looking for some hope. So wind up getting into the program. It's a 7-month program. The ministry is Miracle Hill. It's a local upstate ministry. They are just, they're incredible with what they do.
Yeah.
And gave me a chance to kind of come into that. And it's a 7-month program. First 30 days, you're getting assimilated to that world because it's still in the shelter at that time, just on a
Mhm.
different wing, so to speak. And you have a different set of rules and different playbook if you're involved in that. So you get assimilated to that. And my mom sent me like 5 books. One of the things I started doing when I was in there, I started reading a lot. And started writing a lot. And I remember Mom sending me like 5 books. And I just went to one of the counselors and said, "Look," I said, I don't, what do I do with this? Like,
Yeah.
look at these books. They had to be approved anyway. So if I'm looking to change my life, where do I start with that? And I had this counselor just kind of walk me through, here's how I would read these. And then he quizzed me on it because he knew the books.
Right.
So I could just come in and say, yeah, and give him, I had to know what I'd read. And then we go to the next one. The thing that really got my attention, though, was the deal that I had made with my bride was, look, don't hide from this. This small community, people going to find out. Just be open and honest about it. Throw me under the bus, whatever you got to do. Just don't not be honest about it. And I got a letter from a guy who had kind of been involved in my life through athletics. And he said, hey, the letter was real simple. It's just a card, opened it up. And the basic was, hey, ran into your bride at the grocery store. And she told me what was going on. Just wanted you to know I was praying for you. So,
Dude, let me stop you there for one second, because this is something I really want to highlight. That is something that I don't feel like is common in this space of recovery, of like, and at least maybe not so much in the past. And I think we're kind of moving this way in the future, but the openness, the honesty, was that hard for you?
it was easy because I was trying to make sure that I made it as easy for her to transition to her next life away from me as possible.
Yeah. Okay.
How about her? How easy was it for her to be honest with everybody?
I think it was a challenge, but I think she was uncomfortable at first. Case in point, we rode around. So while I was on the homeless side of the shelter, they allowed me to visit my wife and my kids to kind of get the wheels on the bus, so to speak, for me to be truly gone for about 7 months.
Right.
So we were out, and we were riding to not homeless shelters, but to food banks, all this other stuff, filling out applications, telling the story. I'm fixing to go away. And then we'd get done with that, and they'd be like, okay, so what do you need? And her answer would be, we're good right now. And I'm like, no. You're not good.
Right.
You're not good. And you're not going to be. This is where we got to go. But I think just in the lay of the land, knowing her then and now, she was just like, yeah. I mean, this was finally her chance to kind of express what she'd been living in, and nobody else really knew.
Yeah. And I bring that up too, because I feel like for the addict, it's the number one thing that releases you from all of it, and really kind of puts it into perspective for the addict. Like, okay, I'm just going to admit that all of this happened. And then once you start to receive grace from people and like, oh man, I'm really sorry you're going through that. Like, instead of judgment, and I think that that's why a lot of people hide away from this, is because of the judgment piece. I was listening to something the other day, and it was a podcast, and they said the number one reason that people don't admit the issues that they have is because they're afraid of being judged, And so I think it's really cool that you walk into this environment with that mindset, even though maybe you're like, I'm not going to get help, I'm doing this for them. It doesn't matter, right? You still take that ownership of like, no, I'm going to get in front of this. I'm not going to hide from this. I'm going to be honest about it.
Yeah.
Did they say anything about the success rate, or I don't know what you were listening to, but it'd be interesting to know. I mean, we guess we've already talked about it, where it's the people that are at rehab, or
you can
because
look up
it's court ordered,
right? You can look up statistics on it, but no, it was just like, I think it might have been a commercial for a podcast, and it was just this one like clip, and it just kind of got my wheels turning. Like, yeah, man, like, and I feel like, because how old are you, Travis?
I was 39, turned 40 in the program. I'm 54.
How old are you now? You're 54?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I just feel like my parents' generation and stuff, like they were just taught to stuff all their crap, and not really talk about it. Hey, don't bring that here. We don't want to deal with that. But really, and on a human level, like that's exactly what we need. And so I want to highlight that, because I think that's where this journey really starts. Is one, having the desire to quit, whether the desire is for you. In your situation, it sounds like, hey, I want my family to be able to move on from this and be free from this. That's a starting point. I know for me, it was my daughter, my 5-year-old daughter, was watching everything that was going on. So I just want to bring that up, because, that leads into, leading through vulnerability, being vulnerable, being open, and like, I don't really honestly feel like we can help anybody if they're not willing to be honest.
Yeah. It even translates into what I do every day, what we do every day.
Right.
In the lending world, because so when I'm going through and I'm interviewing somebody, I've got a 5-step process that I do, and it's formal or informal. I promise you, I'm hitting all these points. First thing is, what do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? What have you done to put yourself in a position to do what you just told me you want to do? Third, what are your expectations of me? Fourth, what do you know right now, or what do you think right now is going to be a challenge for you to be able to do what you said you wanted to do, and is going to not allow me to serve you the way you need to be served? So we just hit all 4 points. Here's the goal. The goal is the 5th question. What are you not telling? And I just deadpan it.
That's so good.
I love that.
Dude, like, there's always something.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. They like, well, I don't know what you mean. I'm like, a while ago when you were telling me XYZ, and that thing that almost came out of your mouth and you sucked it back in, that's what I want to know.
Yeah.
I don't want to know your deepest, darkest secret. I don't care. All I want to know is, what is material? What do you think is material to this? Because effectively, I'm your defense attorney. I'm not an attorney, but effectively, you are presenting your case to me to present to someone to see if it works. That's all I'm doing.
That's a great
but
question.
If you tell me 2 weeks from now, and the underwriter or the prosecution is coming at me, and I don't have the answers, or I haven't already laid it out, now I'm running. Now I look like I'm making a story. I don't want to be there. But yeah, that's the same process we went through.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So, and for you, it started with that mindset, right? Like from the beginning, like, this is what I'm going to do.
Oh yeah. I went straight on into this because at the end of the day, I didn't know whether I want to change my life or not, but I'm going to try to make sure that nobody else goes down with me. I don't
Right.
want my wife
Yeah.
and my kids going down at all.
So no, I really love that mindset, dude. Like, I feel like for me, that was kind of I think that's what set me up for success, right? When I was going through the process, like, okay, like I'm going to actually do this. And I think too, like at that point in time, even though I didn't want to be in those rooms for probably the first couple of weeks, ultimately, I think I did want to be there. You know, I was just kind of, like you said, feeling out, getting the lay of the land, kind of getting assimilated to that, you know, accepting the fact that, all right, this is where I'm at right now, you know, and that can take some time.
Yeah. Yeah. The hard part was coming out. That was the hard part.
Yeah.
So, because now, and this is the thing. So, institutionalization is a real thing. So I wasn't in prison. Jail and prison are two different things. I ain't never been to prison. I've been to jail a bunch, but I ain't never been to prison. But you spend 13 months away in not sheltered. That's not the right term, but in a silo of how we live life.
Right.
Separate from the world. In the world, but not of the world. That whole concept. And then you get back home, man, the first 3 months, I was just it was weird.
Yeah.
I mean, things had changed, communication had changed, people had changed, I had changed, but you don't know. It's just the ebb and flows of just getting up and going to bed without train wrecking it somewhere in between. That was new.
You know, and actually, yeah, that's another thing. That's actually where we're trying to take Shattered Darkness is to that next level, right? Because of longevity.
Yeah.
You know, and that's like, let's unpack that a little bit, you know, like, how hard was that, you know, to come in and, you know, it's like going to church camp when you're a kid, you know, and you come back down the mountain and you're all high and all this, and then life happens, you know what I mean? And yeah, it was weird, dude. Like, cause it's easy to be successful when you're in that environment, when you're constantly being told, or like, you're just under that banner, you know, and then you come out of it and it's like, oh shit. And there really isn't a lot of I guess clinical things. Like they didn't hand me pamphlets, you know, of stuff like, hey, go connect with this group, go connect here. You know, it was like, hey, come back and see us on alumni night once a month.
You know, a good question needs to be asked though, is how bad do you want it? Like, how bad do you really want to be sober?
Yeah, for sure.
Because if you really want this, then it's all of that is simple. I'm just gonna drink.
So here's one of the things that, and I watched counselors do this, and then of course I adopted it as we went through. Is what are you willing to do to change your life? And and I mean, guys would say they would do anything. I mean, even stuff that ain't even right, they would be willing to do. I mean, they just want to change their life. They want to keep the stuff. And you had to just kind of put that into perspective of we only want to do the right things. We only want to do the right things. And that's going to look a little bit different. Your recovery is going to look different than somebody else's. I mean, scripture says, you know, work out your own sanctification. It's going to look a little bit different. Storylines are different. Narratives are different. Personalities are different. All those things, but still, you're going to have to do these things. The other thing was, and this is not, you know, a Travis Harrisonism. It's not that, but because it's a statement that's brought together by everybody that I've been involved with, which is if the reward is the reason that you're doing something, it'll be your ruin. Because once that reward's not available to you, if that's where your hope's tied up, then it's all a dumpster fire.
You know, and I heard this the other day too. It was like setting a goal, you know, like let the goal should never be attained. Right. Sure. Like, and I'm talking about on a spiritual level, right? Like, obviously we set tangible goals for ourselves in our lives and, you know, business goals and family goals and things like that we do attain. Right. But the purpose of our life, the mission. It should never end. You know, we should never be at the pinnacle. You know, it's just like, and it was kind of weird because I think as human beings, we're so focused on the top of the mountain. You know what I mean? And like, I want to get here. And I feel like what happens between the base of the mountain and the top of the mountain is growth. You know what I mean? It's like you can't be here unless you climb that mountain because, you know, in the analogy of climbing a mountain, let's say altitude, right? You got to, if we just plant you on top of the mountain, you're going to be barfing your face off and altitude sickness and, you know, not enough oxygen and, you know, whatever that may look like. But when you hike that mountain, you're acclimatizing as you go up, right? You're learning, you're adjusting, your body is getting used to that, those kinds of things. And it's the same thing, same kind of concept, right? For our spiritual life. It's like we should constantly be changing, we should constantly be growing. And really in our minds is if we put a limit on that, like you're saying, what happens when you get there?
Now what? Now what? Yeah, it's
Exactly.
yeah. It is
You know what I-
it's so much of so from my perspective, looking at it from a biblical standpoint, what is sin? Well, sin as a new Christian is like, I mean, it's wider than this camera angle.
Yeah.
And as we progress in life and in that walk, that sin should narrow. In other words, the areas of sin should be less, but the
Mhm.
awareness of how much sin is involved in the sins that you're still engaged in just gets deeper. It is that awareness. It's climatizing. It's getting to where you need to be. I'm in a situation now with Fairway that had this opportunity been given to me, or had I earned the right to have this role with Fairway 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I'd have train wrecked
Right.
because I wasn't ready as a person.
Right.
I was not a safe enough, responsible enough person for this.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden, everything starts to connect like it's supposed to. I'm safe. I'm responsible on a completely different level than what I ever was
Yeah.
back then. And but you just look at that. But to your point, I'm never going to get there here. I won't get there spiritually. Perfection cannot be obtained, but progress is absolute. You better be moving forward.
Yep.
Better be moving forward.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's and I've seen guys go, "Woohoo, I made it," and I'm like, "Oh no, this
Yeah.
is bad." And sure
You know,
enough,
and it's funny, like I realized this in my business in 2019. I set a goal of, you know, however many transactions per year, and we hit it by like August.
Yeah.
And my mental like output just tanked.
Mm.
You know, it was like, well, now what? You know,
Yep.
and it was a simple answer of like, we'll go find more deals, you know, but I checked out. So the following year, we always had a goal and then a stretch goal, or like a goal, like we called it a goal after the goal.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it was just for that, to make sure that once we got to that mountain that we didn't become stagnant.
Yeah, there's got to
So
be
that's
that
awesome. Yeah, I love that. I love that mindset. So anyways, let's go back to your story, and you're getting checked in, assimilating to living in a homeless shelter, and you know, now you're engaging in you know, some recovery steps and things like that. So keep going with your story.
Yeah. So here's what was real funny. So when I was still on the homeless side, not the recovery side, but the homeless side of the shelter, you could put in a work pass. So that first morning I'm doing that. I'm sitting at the desk working with a guy who's helping me put the pass stuff together, walking me through the protocol. And there's a guy standing there who's like an intern on the homeless side. And I'm just talking. I don't know this guy. I've never seen him. Nothing. Zero relationship at all. And I'm sitting there talking, and he nails me, like nails me. He was like, "Man, where you sell cars at?"
Oh my God.
Yeah, you car salesmen, you folks are funny people.
Fell out, man. Because I'm like, and that hit, because this guy doesn't know me.
Yeah.
And he tagged me in a minute, probably listening to me for 2 minutes, working the guy at the desk to try to get what I wanted. He was
Yeah.
like, where do you sell cars at? Man, got blowed out by a homeless dude. But he was right. I mean, it's like a drunk guy at the corner preaching the gospel. The gospel's still the gospel. It doesn't matter if he's drunk. It's not, I mean, that makes it harder to share it. But was it true? It was true. Absolutely true.
That is so funny.
Yeah. But yeah, you go through this, and so there's 4 stages to it. You go in 30 days. That's the acclimation stage. Then there were 4 different levels, and you graduate. You just move progressively through the levels. You're there 7 months. And what I did, one of the things that they encouraged was transitional housing. So they had transitional housing that was off-site. But what I decided to do, the best choice for me, because my family was not going to let me come home. They were like, "Oh yeah, you walked across the stage and got a certificate. That don't mean nothing yet. Congratulations, but there's still work to be done." So I wanted to stay in another 6 months on top of the 7 months. So 7 months as a client, 6 months as an intern. What we did was I went in, and I still lived on campus with the guys. The facility would house up to, I think, 80 guys. Typically, we had about 72. And we're from all walks of life. You've got court ordered, you've got dropped off, you've got walk up, you've got all sorts of stuff. And I lived with the guys. But what it did was kind of like an RA at a college, at a dorm. That's kind of what I was. I had no authority, but I was kind of in a glamorized reporter role and try to keep things in check. But what it helped me do was I had a lot of good management, sales, admin. I had a lot of good skill sets. Problem is now using them for the right reason, but it kept me connected with the staff every day, and they were able to help me check down motives. And that was really, really big for me. Like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? And understanding like where glimpses of old Travis versus new Travis were at, and being able to see some stuff. That was really, really big. There's a lot of good opportunities out of it.
Yeah.
Was there a cost to this place that you went to?
No, there wasn't at the time. I think there was like $85 to get in, but if you didn't have it, they'd scholarship it. Money was not going to be an issue because it was a non-medical facility. So if you came in there and, you weren't clean enough to get in, you weren't going to come in there to detox. You go to somewhere else, get clean, then you could come in because it wasn't medical. But no cost at all. As far as financial costs. Yeah. And I think it's still that way.
Yeah, and I like that 6 months, right? Like that post 6 months, like that was your piece of longevity that really solidified, the new lifestyle, right? And it's funny that you say old Travis and new Travis, because I still, to this day, I mean, I haven't been on this road for more than, I don't know, 16 months probably. And that's what I always tell my wife. I'm like, hey, new Mitch, like not thinking the way that I used to. But in my story too, I had family, and I had my kids and my brother and my parents. And, I had a really wonderful support system around me that was like, no, dude, like we're here for you. And it was obvious, so, and coming out of the outpatient program, like it was still hard, man. Like I relapsed. So I relapsed about 8 months in, which I'm grateful for because I realized it put everything in perspective for me too. But yeah, man, it's just like that 6 months, like, and asking yourself the question, why, like, why do I do this? Why do I feel the need to go drink right now? Why can I not control my emotions in this situation? And it forces you to look 6 inches in front of you, and to really live 6 inches at a time. And I think that that's huge, because our minds take lots of years to kind of come back to the way of thinking, a normal way of thinking.
It's so funny because just things happen here at the office or just in life. And I'll make a joke about it. I'm like, boy, this right here, 15 years ago, I'm lit.
Dude.
Off of this, I'm just telling you, it's. I mean, we giggle about it, and but it's always a good perspective of, okay, that's interesting. Why do you still not choose to go to that? And you look at what you got going on. You look at all things, and people ask me like, so you don't like vodka anymore? I'm like, no. I never said
Don't
that.
get me wrong.
Yo, no, I love vodka. Yeah, and I did. I mean, I really, really love it. The thing is, and it's still on the list of things I love. It's just so far down the list of the other things that I love more than I just never get there. I never get there.
I love that.
Because that's real. Because I'm not going to tell you I don't like it. I ain't going to tell you I don't love it. I proved I do. I just don't love it more than the other things. Just don't.
That's awesome. Yeah. So let me ask you this. So you spent the 6 months there as a mentor. How, like, take me through that. I'm assuming, like, what did that look like? The relationship that you had with the guys that were coming in, you know, how were you able to help those guys out? You know, what were you saying to them to kind of keep them on the straight and narrow?
So I think that the biggest thing that I provided for them was some clarity of black and white versus spirit of what was going on.
Yeah.
Case in point, a lot of guys would come in, especially guys coming in from court order, and they get moved up into the first level, and they'd have, you know, the homework was kind of pre-described. You already knew what the homework was going to be for 6 weeks. Man, these dudes would knock out the homework in like the first weekend, and like, what do you think? What do you think? I'm like, man, you just showed your cards. I'm like, that's not what this is about. This is not about checking the boxes. We know how to do that. Like, just because I'm not tatted up and have the same, and I haven't been to jail, doesn't mean we ain't exactly the same. We're the exact same. We know how to check the boxes, get the rules, play by the rules, and win. That's what we do. Streets got rules. This place got rules. So here's the difference. They're trying to teach you something. So if it says this, yeah, that's what it means. But here's how it applies out. Like looking at the nuances of what things really mean and why something's there. It's not a punitive thing. It's a transformative thing. Mm-hmm. So that's where a lot of guys would come to me. Because I stood out. You know, for the first 5 or 6 weeks, everybody thought I was narc. I mean, when I came in, my first job was to work. Yeah, my first job was to work the phones at the homeless shelter because I could talk. Somebody comes in. I mean, I'm not the greatest looking guy in the world, but I'm not ugly. So I mean, it was just this guy here. I mean, it was hard until I had some discipline issues inside, which kind of helped gain me some street cred inside. Now, like, okay, this guy's not an untouchable. He's one of us. And then once I got there, it was fine. But I think one of the things where I was most helpful was with families. So I got in there on August 29th on my son's 4th birthday, August 29th, 2010. And we moved out of the shelter into its own preset place called the Overcomer Center. And it had been a nunnery, and somebody bought the building, donated it to Miracle Hill, and they turned it into the Overcomer Center. So I had a job of the front desk there, and I helped a lot with the processing. Guys come in, I process them in, shake them down, check bags, all the stuff. And I have a picture. I'll share this in a minute, but I would share with them a picture, especially to the guy and to the family, if the family was there, like the mom or dad, girlfriend, whatever. And I'd show them a picture of what I looked like before I came in versus what I look like now. And I'm like, I don't know what he's going to do with this opportunity, but I'm telling you, change is possible. And there's a picture. And physical change is not heart changing. I know that. But they needed something tangible to walk away from. That dude that I just met is not the dude that came in whenever he came in. He's a real dude. Something's happened in his life. Even if I just became a health nut, something's changed. So change is possible. And that helped. I think it helped families have some confidence that there was hope here.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, you're giving people hope, you know, and that's a powerful tool. Would you be willing to share that picture with us?
Man, I'd love to. I will send it to you. I don't have
Okay.
it, but here's a story behind it. So after I'd had my license taken like 4 or 5 times anyway, it's one of the times I went back in, got my picture taken, and I had a specific shirt on. And when I graduated the program, I weighed 193, 194.
Okay.
In the picture, I weighed about that. And I look like I weigh about 250. My face is so blowed up. And when I went and got out of the center, I wound up not losing my license. While I was in the program, I had 2 very good attorneys. The deal that I had with both of them was I'm not going to plead not guilty. I'll plead no contest, but I'm not going to plead not guilty because I'm trying to set an example here. I mean, down the sword, the whole deal. All those charges got expunged. Everything got cleaned up, which is how I was able to get back into this business because there's some other stuff that would allow me not to do this. And when we went the day or 2 days after I got out, my mom took me to the highway department and I had that same shirt on. So one fat face in that shirt. And then I had cleaned up Trav in that shirt. And the lady at the highway department, she said, "Do you have a license?" I said, "I do." And I slid it to her. And she was going to have to, because we were redoing some stuff on it, they were going to have to take that license. And I just kept my finger on it. I just slid it back. I said, "Let me ask you something. Any way in the world I can keep this?" She said, "I can't let you keep that." I said, "I use this to help people change their lives." She said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Look at that picture. Look at that shirt. Now look at me and look at my shirt. Same guy, but different." She said, "Hold on 1 minute." So when she walked away, she just kind of pushed my hand back to me. So she let me keep it.
That's cool.
So that was cool, man. It was cool. But yeah, I'll share a picture because that's
like to put it
son of a gun. An ugly, fat-faced, angry dude.
I want to put it up on here so people have a reference. We're talking. So
I'll absolutely send you a picture of that.
That's awesome, man. So so really you're kind of helping these guys in there just kind of make sense of what they're going through. Cause I like what you said, like we're good at following the rules.
Yeah.
You know, we're good at checking the box, but this requires something more of you, you know, go deeper than that. Like, don't just check the box. Like if you don't want to come back here again, think about it, you know, let it permeate into your soul and your heart and, you know, those kinds of things. So that's really cool, man. So after you get out of the homeless shelter, you do the 6 months. Is your family, you said your family's not really ready to just let you back in.
Yeah, so they weren't, but they were completely supportive. Like they had not kicked me to the curb and ostracized me. They had simply put me in a place to make a choice. That's all they had done.
Gotcha.
So while I was there, every night, mom still got them, my bride still got them. I wrote a letter every night, just a page letter, sent them out every morning. After there about 60 days, you could have visitations and stuff. So, I mean, I was still seeing them while I was there.
Yeah.
But coming back was a very slow process of getting integrated. You know, this first 3 months, what happened was my mom or dad would come pick me up at my house that we still had, and take me to their house. And then I would work, just stay busy, whatever, and try to get the wheels under the bus about learning to do life again. So they were still really, really supportive. Another group that was really supportive in this was the churches. The church that was the home church for the ministry was Rocky Creek, which was Rocky Creek Baptist at the time. That's just Rocky Creek Church. Still have very good relationships there, but they were huge as a support mechanism as well. And the 3 area churches that were around me that I had looped in from the beginning, they were helpful. The hard part for me was trying to figure out. I felt like I needed to prove to everybody how sorry I was. So after I got through the 3 months back at the house, I took a job collecting debt. I mean, like old debt, like out of statute debt, sitting on a dialer, 250 calls a day, getting dogs scolded, the whole deal. And I was doing it because I felt like I needed to show people how sorry I was. And my bride, finally one day, she had had enough. She said, "You were talking Jesus is enough out of one side of your neck, and you sitting here proving to other people or trying to prove how sorry you are." She said, "It's one or the other. It's one or the other. If he's enough, then there's no reason for you to be hurting us by taking a job that's below what you should be doing."
Mm.
And that's how I got back into banking work. That's how I got back into banking work.
She sounds like an amazing woman.
She's amazing, man. She is, people will ask her, well, why didn't you divorce him? And of course, I'm curious too, because I'd divorce me 3 or 4 times.
Yep.
I mean, for her, like seriously, she was married to a dude for 10 years, 13 years, got divorced, and now she's been married to somebody else since 2010. It's a completely different dude.
Yeah.
Like completely different. I mean, there's certain things that are me, but I mean, motives and all this other stuff.
Let me ask you this. The fact that she did stay with you, did that teach you anything?
I don't know that it taught me anything. I do think it doubled down on what I already knew, which was that she loves me. I mean, to a fault, she loves me.
Amen to that.
I wouldn't take anything at all. I would not go back and do this story ever again. I wouldn't, but I also wouldn't take anything for it. I would not change my narrative for anything. But the grace and the patience and the love that she showed me, and the fact that my kids and my wife have experienced what so many people don't get a chance to experience. Do you know that your daddy loves you?
Yeah.
Do you know? Do you know that your husband loves you? Have you ever seen him in a position where he truly was at a fork in the road and he had to make a choice? Is he going to choose him, or is he going to choose me, or is he going to choose us? My kids were in the midst of all that mess, and then they've been able to participate on the backside. Same with my bride. That is massive, because have I disappointed my family in areas other than just being a drunk? Man, yeah, that's a long list. Long. Yeah. But they also know that I'm choosing you, I'm choosing you, I'm choosing you, I'm choosing you. And as long as they understand they're second only to Christ, we're good. Christ, bride, children, boom. Everything else falls after that. Not perfectly, of course, but that's where I live.
That's the plan. Yeah. Dude, and that's a great perspective. I never thought about it that way. My wife chose to do the same thing, man. 7 years. I destroyed our marriage for 7 years and our finances and all of it,
Yeah.
But she chose to stay. And the one thing I think I learned through all of that was how to love again. You know, I think I'd been so broken prior in my life from other relationships and friendships and things like that. And, you know, I just think that I had built up a wall around myself that I didn't realize. And it wasn't until she made that choice to stick with me when she had every right to leave, you know, that I was like, oh shit, you know, like that level of loyalty I just didn't feel like existed, you know, and she showed it to me, man. And then it was incredible. So I was just curious because I went through a similar experience with my wife and my kids. And, you know, that her love for me totally changed my perspective on a lot of things.
I look back, you know, you start going through all this analysis of how did I get here, blah, blah, blah. So I was gifted as an athlete. And it allowed me to get a chance to do a whole lot of stuff in life. And so I was a place kicker. And
Oh,
and
nice, dude. That's
um,
awesome.
I mean, like from the time I was 5, I remember going. We were in Atlanta at the time, and give me 1 second here. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
The we lived in Atlanta from the time I was 2 to 6, and I basically lived at Fulton County Stadium because Braves and the Falcons were horrible, so you could buy tickets cheap, sit wherever you wanted to. It was great. It was a great childhood. But I just remember watching, and I'm like, how do you miss? Like, how do you miss? I'm going to do that. Sure enough, I did. Played soccer when we moved back up here, up through 8th grade. Then got to high school, did my thing. Signed at a small college, Wofford College here in Spartanburg, which is just literally right there. Great opportunity there that the coaches in the school gave me. Transferred out, went to finished up at South Carolina. Played some down there, not a lot, but made a big enough impression where I got to spend 2 years as a free agent. So, and then hung them up kind of on my terms, and I never looked back. So I got to do a lot. But when I was playing ball at Carolina, I wasn't on scholarship. So that gave me the opportunity to work. Well, it didn't give me the opportunity. It forced me the opportunity to work because that was the only way I was going to make it work. So I worked at an Applebee's out on Broad River Road. And most of my clientele, and I know that sounds strange, you work at Applebee's, you didn't have a clientele. Trust me. I had a clientele, and most of them were alumni Gamecock fans. They knew I played ball. And, man, they loved on me. I thought they loved on me, and some did. But, man, I had some lavishness around me that was crazy. And I was a nobody. Like, I'm the dude who kicks off on Saturday. That's it. I mean, that's all I did.
Yeah.
And so, but when it was over, man, I was disposable like a razor. It was over. And my whole life had been confined to a 4.5 second time frame.
Yeah.
I knew in 4.5 seconds whether I was successful or whether I wasn't, whether people liked me or whether they didn't. So relationships, no concept, none. Work something over time for no concept, none, no concept of that at all. And this is not the why, but this is certainly a contributing factor. That's why alcohol was so awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end, and I say the end, the last 2 or 3 years, I didn't drink socially. Like, you didn't see me drink. Now, you'd smell it on me, be like, dang, when is that dude doing it? I walk in the liquor store, just kill it, go. Kill it, go. There was no sipping, nothing. I ain't got time to sip. Let's roll. But it was that quick hit. And that's how I live my life.
That makes a lot of sense, dude. Like a lot of sense, actually.
It's freaking. But that's all I did. The car business. Kind of the same way. Meet somebody, do a deal, let's go, fund it, same day. You know what I mean? It's that quick.
Yeah. That's funny you say car business, dude. I literally I worked at a car dealership for like 2 months. I was trying to bridge a gap, and I loved it. it was like, I've been in sales for 13 years and, doing homes, which is not that. Like, that is not a quick hit at all.
That's right.
And I'm constantly saying, like, I love that instant gratification of life. And so I love mowing my yard. It's like, I like vacuuming the floors, like things like that I can immediately look at and be like, boom, there's the progress. And so, yeah, I totally understand that. And, I'm going to go back and think about like my alcohol journey and be like, is there an element of that in there? And I guarantee you there is.
Sure.
Because it's so easy to go from 0 to 100 in 10 seconds.
You know what sucks though is when you drink like Rumple Mints or something, and you drink like too much because you're trying to get drunk fast, and all of a sudden you go from like nothing to sloppy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, dang it, I missed my fun
You're
part.
like, fuck, dude, I just blacked out in like 30 minutes.
Yeah. And you can't just go backwards. You can't go, give me 15 minutes back. Nope, doesn't work that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Nope, your day's done.
Yeah. No, and that's the other thing about it, dude, is you're in one direction, full speed in one direction.
Speed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I tell anybody, if you needed a 0.2, give me a call. I'll get you one. It's not a problem. I'll get you a 0.2 anytime you want one.
Oh, that's funny. So, dude, let's talk a little bit about your life now.
Yeah.
How long have you been sober?
So 14 years.
14.
August 29, 2010. Yeah.
And what have the last 14 years of your life looked like?
Quite different. Financially, I was harmed pretty substantially. I mean, it cost a lot of money to not go to jail. It cost a lot of money to be underemployed too. 2 years out of the workforce, really 3 to 5 years underemployed. Yeah. So there's some nastiness there. But relationship with my wife has never been better at all. I pursue her now in a way that I never did before, because my understanding of how that was supposed to work was warped. Now it's much more in line. So just, if I'm going to share with you, I'll share. So the alcohol was one thing, but pornography was the other. Because if I'm never going to not have something.
Right.
Never. I'm going to have something. And what happened with that was I finally got to a point in my life where, okay, that energy for me is really, really strong. It's really strong. But if I just channeled it all to her, it's not a problem. Mm-hmm. So that's where all of that channel goes to. It's that kind of stuff. Having people around me with some financial accountability, sexual purity accountability, job accountability, people being involved if I make a transition, just a lot of stuff.
What does that accountability do for you in your day to day today? I love that you've set that up for yourself, but like, what does that do for you?
So financially, I know now that if I do get into a bind, I've got people around me who can say, yeah, dude's legit. This is a real problem. We need to help him out. Dude is not out there blowing money. He didn't get himself here. He didn't make bad choices. He may be dealing with some bad consequences, but dude did not go out here and try to train wreck. That's the difference that's there. Now, I do struggle every day with, what I think about, what I look at. I don't struggle with where I go. I'm pretty boring dude. But things that I say, like my mouth can get me in some trouble. Quick.
Both, my man.
Quick. And I have to just be really guarded. And sometimes, man, I'm awful. I'm not guarded there at all. And I just don't go. But I've got guys around me, like, my two partners here, Mario and John. Like, I remember we were in a meeting probably a month ago. I said, look, guys, so before we get started, I need some accountability. I need to ask for some forgiveness for my language and some stuff we've been dealing with. It's in the right direction, but we don't want to do that. And I'm sorry, I'm bringing that to the table. Hold me accountable. And they have. They have. It helps me be better than I would be on my own. I don't feel like I'm being policed. I don't feel
Yeah.
like I got a weighted blanket on me. I feel like it's more free
Mhm.
because they know that's an area of my life where I'm going to mess up.
Yeah.
And they know I want to call me out. Now, if I don't let them call me out on it, then that's a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you a branch manager, or what is your title?
Yeah, branch manager, and we share it. We've got a what we call Oceans 3. So we've got me, who's kind of the old grunt, car sales tower, bring the deal, let's push it through, let me see what we got. I'm that guy. So product and onboarding. Then John is kind of the P&L, the numbers guy. He understands how the business works a lot better than what I do. He's gifted in that area. He's also gifted with recruiting, plus his own production. And you got Mario, who brings a biz dev side to the business and a knownness in the Spartanburg market. So we just attack it in 3 different directions. And nobody's got their thumb on the other one. There's full confidence there that everybody's going in the same direction. We got the same destination. We're just in different lanes. We're just in different lanes.
Well, on paper, do they report to you though?
No, we report to Dwight Bennett, who was our regional.
Oh gosh, I guess the only reason I ask that though is, on the accountability side is, do people rely on you to stay straight and do this? Well, not necessarily stay straight from sober and alcohol or being alcohol, but on now in your next stage of life of attitude, discipline, accountability.
Yeah, as far as there's not a pressure to stay clean. There's just a responsibility to stay clean, I guess, that I own. Like if this happens, like I'll go in somebody's house that I ain't never been in, but they know the story, and you can tell they forgot to clean house, and all of a sudden you hear all the liquor bottles clanging. They're trying to put them up, and I'm like, you can stop. You can stop. I'm not going to try to steal it. I don't want none. I'll drive you wherever you want to go. We'll have a great time. But
exactly.
I'm not like, oh my gosh, I hear the bottle.
Right.
I'm not that guy.
Yeah, and I would say that most people that are down the road are probably not, that are pretty solid in their sobriety are not that way. But dude, that was the funniest thing for me when I started this journey, is like people that I didn't even know or knew not very well knew where I was at, and all of a sudden they're explaining their drinking to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't ask you to explain that to me. Like, I don't give a shit. I just simply have made these choices for my life. Like, I will end up in jail and probably yelling at my wife and my kids, and I just don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, it's just not worth it anymore. I had lived my life up to 40 years old watching 85 minutes of the 90-minute movie.
Yeah.
And oh my God, once I saw the last 5 minutes, I'm like, that's how that ends up. Okay. I mean, it's, you never want to see the ending. You just, it's all good, but you don't see everybody get shot up in the last 5 minutes, including you. It's, yeah. So watch the whole movie. It's a big deal.
That's a good analogy. Well, dude, this is such a great story, man. And I'm so happy to, one, get the opportunity to interview you and go through this. Thank you again for jumping on here and being vulnerable and sharing your testimony. And what we always ask somebody kind of at the end is there anything that you would want to say to the listener? Any like one piece of wisdom that you would want to leave with the world?
There's so much.
I know.
You only got to pick one. That's it. We limit our guests to one. I'm kidding.
One. So I would share with you probably from a recovery, keeping life between the ditches, real time. I camp out on one Bible verse. Bible verse. Psalm 119, 37. Turn my eyes from looking at worthless things and lead me to life in your ways. The emphasis that's there is turn my eyes. The implication there is I can't turn my own eyes. You, as my Lord and Savior, you are going to have to turn my eyes for me. I'm trusting you to do that. Now I'm going to cooperate with that. I can't fight you, but in my own strength, I can't turn my eyes from looking at worthless things. Well, what's worthless thing? Well, worthless thing to Mitch is different than what a worthless thing is to Travis.
Yeah.
They're different. What is worthless in your world, either in the moment or in the pursuit? And then lead me to life in your ways. So these are not my ways that are going to lead me to life. My ways lead me to death.
Yeah.
So turn my eyes from looking at worthless things and lead me to life in your ways. It has been incredible for me
Just got chills.
to focus there on, because it doesn't define the it, because the it will change.
Yep.
5 years from now, I could be sitting up with something that I never thought I was going to face that will test me whether I want to choose my wife and kids or whether I want to choose me.
Yeah.
Is it worthless? Is it worthless? And that for me is just a great place to hang out. I think scriptural memory is a big deal to be able to carry it with you. It's kind of like saying no to the crack dealer. You say no before he comes to you, not when he's in front of you. It's just the way it works. But that's something you can hold on to.
I got a good one for you, man. The one that I look at almost daily is Proverbs 10:3-4. The Lord will not let the godly go hungry, but he refuses to satisfy the craving of the wicked. Lazy people are soon poor. Hard workers get rich.
Yep.
That's the same thing. We're not talking about dollars and cents.
We're talking about your spiritual,
That's right.
Spiritual bank.
Yeah.
That you need to you deposit, right? You make these deposits by principles in life, and by operating under those principles and submitting as a man. I know that's a hard word for men to hear. Submitting to God and the direction that God has for your life, and that's a tough place to get to, especially in today's day and age where God and Jesus have been weaponized time and time again, and
making a comeback though.
Yeah. But it's one of my favorite questions for people. Oh, I don't believe in God. Okay, that's fine. Why? Oh, well, this one thing happened, my so-and-so said that I was, going to hell because I did this sin, and I'm like, that's not God. That is God being weaponized against you to control you. And, which I think people are starting to realize, but will you say that Bible verse one more time?
Psalm 119:37.
Okay.
Turn my eyes from looking at worthless things and lead me to life in your ways.
Man, that's good. I love that. That's a daily prayer right there.
That's a keeper, man.
Yeah. Sure. Well, Travis, I just want to say thank you, dude. Your story is so inspirational, man. And you're so well spoken and have so much wisdom over the past 14 years of sobriety. And I'm just so grateful, dude, that you were able to pick yourself up and put the pieces back together and sit here with us today, man. It's a blessing.
It's good stuff. It's a great journey. It'll continue. So thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate what y'all do. It's a big
Absolutely.
deal. It matters.
Hey, one thing that I think was gold. We brought our wives on for an episode, episode 10. But if you wouldn't mind, man, we can chat more about this offline. But if your wife's up for it, man, I think her perspective would be intense, because I really want to get into what they were thinking of, not just saying, okay, you got to, you got to do this, you got to fix, you got to get right. They just straight up dropped you off and said, go, you got to go. Got to go do this. And I would love to get her perspective, her thinking, her mentality. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I will actually approach her with that and see what she'd like to do with that. So thanks for the opportunity to ask on that.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. All right. Well, I'll let you sign us off.
Hey, just again, Travis, thank you. Appreciate you. Everybody listening, thank you. Thanks for sticking through this one. This is a great episode, and we really appreciate everybody that listens through all these to the end here too, because we're always asking for feedback and comments and emails. We really do want to interact. So please reach out to us. And we appreciate y'all listening. Have a beautiful rest of your day.